Welcome to 12 Hours in the Future with Maria Sanchir. Probably the most accurate word that I can describe my guest today is she's simply a force, a filmmaker who is a big female filmmaker supporter. She started her career in Hollywood as an actress and even went through homeless period. And right now, she's a successful producer, writer, and co founder of producing companies like Mustard Seed Entertainment and Boylan Sister Entertainment. I am delighted to welcome you today. This is Alexandra Boylan. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Maria. I'm excited for our conversation.
I am so honored. Thank you so much. If anybody wants to be in the industry or is in the industry and want to make it, Alexandra Boylan is the person to know. That's for sure. She's a independent filmmaker. You may know her work from films like Catching Faith, Switched. So I'm delighted to talk to you today. How's your day going?
It's beautiful. I actually was just in a post-production meeting for my new teen girl movie that's coming out in the fall. So just been working and I'm doing great. I love what I do. So I never work a day in my life because I love making movies.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
That's
We
right.
all love movies. Yeah, and it looks beautiful there, the light, and I like the poster that you have behind the Switched.
My teen, yeah, my Switched. That's my heart and soul. I love it. This is one of my favorite movies that I've ever made is Switched. And so it gets front and center in my office space because I love it.
Right.
I love all my movies, but this one's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I loved it too. I saw it and I love it. Yeah. It's
Oh,
amazing.
you saw it?
Yes, I did for preparation for my research.
Oh, good. And you enjoyed it?
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Especially I like how it's talks about bullying and why person bullies somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it even gets there. Yeah, which I feel like it's very important, really. So I know you moved to LA when you were 19. And then to pursue your passion for acting. And then you became homeless for a whole month. And then I know that you moved to New Mexico and you once said that you rediscovered yourself. So I wanted to ask, what would you say to actors who feel discouraged right now, right at this moment, like maybe watching this and or listening to this and feeling like they're not cut out for this business and, just like being sad maybe. What would you say to them?
My advice to anyone who's struggling out there as an actor is to create your own career. I think as an actor, you cannot work hard enough for someone to pick you because it is objective why a producer picks an actor. So I would say pick yourself, start creating your own projects. Get on set, work as a PA, and surround yourself with filmmakers, and then start creating your own content that you can put yourself in that content. My first feature film is called Home Sweet Home. And I literally created that project to give myself the lead as an actor. And then when the movie got onto the shelves of Walmart, it was so exciting because I got to be on the cover of a movie that I made myself. So I think my biggest advice is to create your own career. Don't wait to be chosen. You might be waiting forever. So nowadays there's so much access to cameras and equipment and other filmmakers. And I would just get people together and start making your own stuff so that you're not just waiting for someone to choose you.
Right. I know that you have shot a movie with $1,000.
Yes, I have a movie called At Your Own Risk Out. We made it for $1,000 with the all-in for production with 4 people in the New Mexico desert. We had 2 actors, the director and the cinematographer, and the director held the boom. And we shot that movie. And then we just got on Tubi. We got on Freevee, Amazon. We got on Roku channel. We're on PureFlix. So we literally just made that for my friend Helen and I to have a lead in a movie. We made that movie ourselves. So people think, oh, you need to have all this money and all this equipment. You actually don't need a lot of money and a lot of equipment. You just need a camera and a boom operator. And then, of course, post-production. You need help in the post-production, but not to actually shoot the movie. Nowadays, you can make a movie on your iPhone. There's so many options to filmmakers. I didn't have that in 1999 when I moved to LA. We didn't have access to cameras like we do now. So this is a great time to be in the film industry because there's so much access with the internet and with equipment to make your own projects.
And I had tons of short films and music videos and little things that my friends and I were doing, just kind of practicing. And then once we felt like we had done enough, we decided to say, okay, let's do a feature film. But that's a great way to practice because you got to practice and learn.
Right. So cool. Yeah. Like today, but I always feel like, how do you actually get noticed? You know, like where do you, how do you put it out like that so that people would, like right people in the industry would notice you? What would you say?
How to get noticed as a filmmaker?
Yeah, as a filmmaker, as an actor, especially the ones who don't have representation, right? Because in the beginning, you can't have a representation unless you have...
I could never get an agent. That was one of my biggest problems as an actor. When I moved out here in 1999, I spent my 20s pursuing acting. I could not get representation. So that was so hard because there's the chicken and the egg. You can't get an agent if you don't have credits. You can't get credits if you don't have an agent. And I was like, how do I... Exactly. So it really took like moving to New Mexico and making my own work to put myself in it to showcase that I had abilities. Then I got an agent. I also recommend people going to smaller markets, not coming to LA and New York, but to going to New Mexico, going to Atlanta. There's a lot of cities in America that are booming with film, and I would recommend to go to a smaller market so that you can gain the experience before you come to Los Angeles or New York, where it's so competitive and so hard, and you need some stuff under your belt. You can get that in a smaller market. So when I moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico in 2009, I was able to tap right into the community of filmmakers a lot easier in New Mexico than I was in Los Angeles. And then to get noticed for how we did it was, we made a feature film. We had a small group of people that got together. We knew that thrillers sold without a star name. Thrillers are a genre that can sell in the marketplace. You don't have to have a star. And so we made a thriller. And then we moved back to Los Angeles. We had submitted to a lot of film festivals, but we didn't get into any film festivals. And then we were like, oh, well, how do we get our movie out there? So I actually met some women from a poster company through Women in Film who recommended that I had a great poster made. So those girls made my poster.
Oh, okay.
And through that poster, through Key Art, we were able to get a sales agent, and that sales agent repped our movie. That sales agent took the movie to American Film Market, and he was able to sell it to a major distribution company. But the big key was having amazing poster art. Our key art is the key to a good movie. Is the first thing a distribution company looks at is the poster. The first thing the audience looks at is a poster when they're clicking on it on Netflix.
How interesting.
So my biggest advice is no matter how much money you spend on a movie, do not skimp on a poster. I know people who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to make their movie, but they won't hire a professional poster company. And there's a lot of things. Not only are you going to get a quality poster that's going to go out and make people go, oh, this is a quality movie, they also know what's selling in the marketplace. They go to like AFM or Cannes, and they're seeing what's selling, so they can give you expertise in the marketing of like, oh, if I position your movie like this, we'll sell it. So for us, it was the key to selling our first feature film was the poster we made.
Wow. This is some information that people probably don't know. Like, thank you for telling me, sharing that.
I didn't know either until I went through it, and then it just made. I don't even go to film festivals anymore. We just sell. We just take our movie right to market and we sell it off the poster. And I've sold 2 of my movies off of a poster. So it just shows how. And then think about it. Once you get distribution, you get on the shelves of Walmart or you get on Netflix. The first thing what's going to draw the eye of your customer is the picture. So your picture must be compelling, tell a story, and make people want to click on it.
Right. Amazing. Yeah. So I want to ask, like, either it was acting or producing job. Like, is there any job that you were terrified to start?
terrified. I think, oh, yes. Well, as an independent filmmaker, I had to raise private investment. I had to raise the money to make the movies. I wasn't really afraid of being a producer. I love bringing people together. Half the time I didn't know what I was doing, and I just made it up as I went. And that's what you have to do. You have to be willing to go, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to learn, and I'm going to try, and I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to finish the project. But I think the scariest part of being an independent filmmaker for me was going out to ask people for money, to have to go take meetings and say, I want to make this movie, but I need someone to fund the movie. I couldn't get a studio deal. So that was probably my most nerve-wracking thing, because asking people for money is very scary. And I had to be bold, and I had to be fearless, and I had to have an unoffendable heart, and I had to be ready to be rejected. So you just kind of put on your big girl pants and you go in and you go, I'm going to try. And I'm a big believer that if you have automatically failed if you don't try. So I always try, because if I don't try, then I'll never know. And it's okay if someone says no, I go to the next person. And I raised all the private investment myself for Switch. And I'm really proud of that, because that's really, really hard to do as an independent filmmaker.
What was the budget, if it's not a secret, if you can share?
I can share Switch now. Switch was a $430,000 budget.
Right.
So that's a lot of money to go out and raise.
Oh yeah, it is. It's $500,000, right?
Exactly.
It is a lot of money.
And also there's a lot of responsibility. When I raise money, I am responsible for those people's money, and I have to make sure that I can finish the movie. That's why I always say it's great to practice, because I hear a lot of independent filmmakers say, if I could just get the money, I'll make a movie. Well, you don't know that until you've actually taken a film from conception to completion and gone on to sell it to a distribution company. So my first thriller, Home Sweet Home, I paid out of pocket for that movie. I paid out of my own pocket. I made that movie, I paid for that movie, and I saw it all the way through. So then the next time I made a movie, I was like, okay, if you invest in me, I know what I'm doing, and I know how to finish a film.
Wow, you're a risk taker. Because I mean, like, the industry's always like out of pocket, like, no, like, don't do that, right?
Do it.
Like, everybody's like, don't do that. It's, I think, one of the no things that the industry talks about, paying out of your pocket.
I don't believe in the no-nos. I don't believe in any rules.
Right.
Throw whatever rules somebody tells you out the window. Don't even listen to it. There are no rules. And the only way to succeed in this business is by taking risks, taking chances. If you believe in yourself and your project, I paid for it, and I would have done it 100 times again. Cool. Because it worked. It jump-started my whole career.
Wow.
And nobody was going to give me the money, because nobody was going to invest in a first-time filmmaker, because they were like, how will I know that you will be able to finish the project and you'll sell it? I had to prove that I could do it. And then originally that first feature we made, we really just thought we were going to show our parents, and maybe we put it on YouTube. So the fact that we did sell it and get a major distribution company attached to it is such a blessing, because that really did jumpstart my whole career.
Mind-blowing. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your acting experience.
Yes.
Have you ever had, like, situation when your scene partner won't give you what you need? Because we all know, like, acting is first of all reacting, right? So, like, somebody who is there, who, like, clocked in, cannot wait to clock out, and she just, like, not giving you that. Like, have you encountered that? And what do you do in that kind of situation?
That's a great question. I love that.
Thank you.
I haven't been asked that in an interview. Honestly, I think as an actor, you are responsible for yourself first and foremost. You're not responsible for if the other actor gives it to you. So you need to do your homework. I do a lot of imagination work when I book a role or I have a role. I imagine myself in the circumstances, and I imagine what I'm going through, and that will serve me in the story. And if you think about it, I know that theater is different than movies, but oftentimes they have put a piece of tape on the camera, and you're acting to a piece of tape. because that actor cannot be behind the camera. So you have to be able to act even when you're acting to a piece of Scotch tape, and nobody's and you'll have off-camera dialogue, but you don't have someone to react with. So it is really important as an actor to be able to do your homework and be able to perform whether there's somebody there or not, because literally for film, sometimes it's just a bunch of camera people on the other side and there's no actor, and you still have to give it as though they're giving it back. And sometimes be distracting because somebody's doing off-camera dialogue, but you're looking at a piece of Scotch tape. So you have to be so prepared, and so it doesn't matter if you're looking at a piece of Scotch tape, because you're still going to give your performance because you prepared and you know what you have to give for the camera to pick that up.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. I was like thinking if you had any experience acting against nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Many times, so many times I have. And way back in the beginning of my career, that happened. So I learned right away that I was like, oh, we might not. It's not like you take acting classes and you're always with that actor. That's why I recommend actors do short films, do anything you can get on set, because set is so different than being in an acting class or being on a theater set with a set is like you have a boom in your face and you got lights coming from here and you got 20 people watching you. And then if you've done your homework, all that matters is the story. Mm-hmm. So you should be able to tune everything out, and all that matters is conveying the story of whatever your character is going through. And I will say, I studied with Harry Master George for many, many years, and he was so like the story. It doesn't matter. And so that really helped me be able to tune out all the noise on a film set, because there's tons of noise and people are eating crafty and someone's whispering over there, and you have to be able to be so focused that none of it matters. And none of it matters whether there's a person that you're looking at. Doesn't matter, because you've done your homework to bring whatever your character is going through in that moment and convey it so that the camera picks it up, so that the audience feels it.
Right. What was the worst feedback that you ever heard from maybe casting director or just the director, that actually like almost discouraged you to, like give up, like
gosh,
you had to overcome?
A list of them. I think what's really hard as an actor is that it's so much about what you look like, and we cannot do anything about what we look like. So when somebody offends what you look like, it's like, well, okay, sorry, my eye color wasn't right. Or when I was in my early 20s and I moved to LA, my skin broke out a lot. And I would go into auditions and the directors would be like, you're never going to work with your skin looking like that. And things like that. Or if I gained a little weight and they were like, could you please lose weight? Or I'm big chested. I literally have people say, you're not going to work, you're too big chested.
Oh my God.
So you hear stuff like that, and it's hard not to take that stuff personally, because it has nothing to do with the script or your acting. It has completely to do with the body that God gave you. And you're like, I was born this way, sorry. So I think that was a really hard thing to overcome, and to be able to hear people say personal accusations against what you look like. There was just like, I would be like, well, I can't change my face. So
exactly. Especially when you're very young, right? It's very hurtful.
Oh yeah. I went to an agent when I was like 21 years old. I was in an agent's office and he asked me to lift my shirt so he could see what I look like underneath my shirt. And I was 21 years old and I was just like, what? You want me to take my clothes off and so you can see what my body looks like? And I just like, that stuff was so gross. And I remember walking out of that being like, I don't want to be represented by this man, because this man should never ask to see me naked. But,
oh my God.
So stuff like that. But I just kept persevering and overcoming it. And I think it gives you, anytime you're rejected, it gives you a more of a layer of strength of like, okay, I'm going to prove them wrong. I think I took rejection as, oh, watch me prove you wrong. Right. Instead of making it crumble, it made me go, oh, you don't, I'll prove that I know what I'm doing.
Right. It makes you stronger.
It makes you stronger.
Yeah, because I've heard so many stories like that. And the thing is, like, it's so sexist. I mean, men would never say, right? Like, oh, he asked me to take my pants off to see, like, how I'm packed, Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, it's always women, and it's so degrading. I mean,
It is.
Like Meryl Streep, I think, once told the story about she went to see the head of, I think Warner Brothers was that, and for King Kong. And she was like very young, upcoming actress, and the son of the head of the studio brought her to his dad, like he's like very proud, like this is new actress, like, and he said, "Che brutta," which means in Italian, like, why is she so ugly? And she's like, I am sorry, but I understand Italian. Can you imagine? Like I think, yeah, it's like, and like story like yours, I think Jennifer Lopez once said, like she was in the beginning of her acting career, and the director asked her to show her breasts, basically in the, I think they were like trying clothes for the wardrobe, and she was like, "No, I'm not gonna do that." It's like, and right, it's all of. So I really actually wanted to talk about like the time that we live in today, like post Me Too era, right? Do you feel like the industry's changing? Because now it looks like, it feels like working with women, with underrepresented groups, like sort of like trending, right? But it still is not a normality, right? It still is taken as, oh, we're doing like for you women or for you underrepresented other groups. Like it still feels like a trend. And do you feel like we're getting closer to this being normality, or we're still like have so much work to do?
It's a great question. I personally, as a filmmaker, am hiring women all the time behind the camera. I create female-driven stories. So for me, I have made it a point not to complain, but to change it. So I think, and I have struggled as a woman in the film world, going into meetings, pitching stories that deal with women, and I've had literally studio executives say no thank you because it stars a woman, or, oh, you can't make that movie. So I think we have a long way to go, and I think that anytime a woman gets into a power position, they need to go to bat for each other. We need to collaborate, not compete with each other. So I'm trying to be the change. I try to crew up women. My last film set, it was all women behind the monitor. Producers, I had a woman director, I had a woman line producer. So I feel like, I'm like, if each of us are changing it, that's the only way things will change. And I do think what's really hard with the studio system is there's still a lot of men in power positions, or the women, if they are in power positions, are they going back to women? Are they looking at the scripts and going, oh, this is a woman's script, we should really make this movie? And because even, we have a lot of women at the studios, but they're still having to go to the higher ups for men, where they're saying, hey, we should make this film. Like Switch got rejected by everybody. And I couldn't believe it got rejected. And even when we made it, some of the major studios rejected it. And I was like, this is a true empowering young women's story, where they're dealing with relationships with girls and how to be a good girlfriend, and we are telling the girls are going to college, they have a career. We're really trying to change the narrative for young girls. And the studios all said no. So I think that shows that they might say that they're inclusive, but they're actually not picking up the work to put it out there to change. So all I know that I can do is continue to be the change.
Right.
I do think we have a long way to go. I also think I'm always looking for men who are mentors, who believe in raising up women, because we need the men to believe in us and to raise us up. Right now, I just signed with a man named Ben Howard, and he's been my partner, and it's been so awesome because I need him to get me into the doors and then to say, you need to work with her. So we need the guys. We need them. It's a boys club. So you need the boys club to invite you in and then go to bat for you. So I appreciate all the men in my circle that have been fighting for my work for a long time. So I think we still have a ways to go, but we're chiseling at it we're chiseling. There's more women directors, more women producers. And I think when we get more women, I'd like to see more women at studios in power positions to greenlight the true empowerment young girl stories, or to pick it up and put them onto Netflix or Hulu and some of the bigger platforms. But I think there's a lot of talk, but I've been a part of Women in Film and Ms. in the Biz and Women in Moving Picture Salon in Los Angeles for years. And I've been to a lot of events where women are complaining. And I just said, we cannot complain. If we're all in this room together, let's get together and collaborate with each other and create something that will create the change, because we can't expect someone else to do it. I think it's our responsibility, and it's there's something called the reframe stamp, which is, have you heard of the reframe stamp? And so it's been created by Sundance and Women in Film, and it's an initiative to have, you have to have a certain amount of women and a certain amount of diversity on your film. Right. And every single one of my movies has gotten the reframe stamp. And like, I will not make a movie unless I know I will get the reframe stamp, because that's very important to me that we're showcasing diversity in our movies, young girl diversity. I mean, Maya Horscher is Asian, and it was so cool for Switch to go out in the Philippines and have young girls in the Philippines say, thank you so much for representing me. I got to see myself on camera. Representation matters for everyone. So I think we still have a ways to go, but I also want to encourage anybody that to make sure that if you get in the position to change, be part of the change. Don't just say, oh, that's somebody else's responsibility. Right. If you are a woman who gets a chance to produce a movie, hire women. I hired on Catching Faith, which was my first faith-based back in 2012. I only had one electrician in the electrician department, and I hired a woman. And my gaffer was so nervous. He was like, you hired a woman as an electrician? I only have one electrician. I need a man. And I was like, she's just as qualified as the men. She ended up being extraordinary on set. She probably worked harder than any man would. And then by the end of the show, the gaffer told me she was one of the best electricians he'd ever worked with. But it took me going to bat for her to prove that she could do it. And then now the gaffers hired her on tons of movies. So I'm just a big believer in, like, if I get the opportunity, I am going to hire all women, not all women. We're not replacing the men, but we hire a lot of women to give them the chance that they normally wouldn't get because guys wouldn't hire them in that position. Right. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Do you feel like there's a little bit more space for you to, support women now? Like after Me Too, it's been 5 years, right? It's 2017 when everything happened.
I was supporting women before then because I've been
of course.
In film. So Me Too, I think Me Too has been helpful to make awareness of sexual harassment even more so. I don't know how. I hope that Me Too makes more women work, but I think more Me Too was to say, hey, when someone's speaking up that they're being harassed on set, could people just listen to them or help them? Because I was a stand-in. I worked in this business since I was 19. So I saw how much was going on and things would happen to me. And I was told, just keep your mouth shut and move on and keep working. I've had that happen to me on many sets. So I'm excited to see that, like, if someone's getting hurt, there's now a new initiative to listen and help them. But I think when it comes to, there is more space for women. I think it slowly but surely. I've been fighting for women for 10 years in my movies, and I'm seeing now a lot more openness to, okay, let's look at this teen girl movie that empowers women. Okay, Amazing. It really took Switch to pave the way. Sometimes it takes a movie to show the audience, to show the, so I felt like with Switch, we were really making something trailblazing in that space, and then that's opened up doors because it did well.
Yeah, for sure. To show people like this is something that people will watch. So let's make more. Right.
Let's make more. But nobody wants to take a risk on something that they haven't seen work. So you have to be the one to make the risk, to take it and say, okay, I know there's an audience here. I mean, when we made Catching Faith, it was, it stars a woman. And this was back in 2012. And our sales agent said, no, you cannot make a female-driven faith-based film because there's no numbers in the marketplace to back it up because there were no other films in the faith space starring women. So I was like, well, let's do it and let's prove there's an audience. And Catching Faith went on to become the top 5 consistent selling movie for the distribution company.
And you have a sequel.
So it took us proving it. For then, and because we're independent, see, that's what's great about being an independent filmmaker. I am not beholden to the studio. So if a studio says no, I can still go ahead and raise private investment and I can make it. And then that movie blew up and took off and did so well that has created space in the genre for us to make. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You just mentioned that you were standing. I know that you were standing on big films like Thor, Avengers. So all the filmmakers probably have heard of it. Like a couple of years ago, there was like a comparison of the superhero movies, especially Marvel movies, to being a amusement park sort of ride. I want to know, what do you think about those films? Do you think, as a independent filmmaker, do you think like they are taking up all the space in the theaters, or
yes?
What do you think?
They are taking up all of the space in the movie theaters. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I worked on Thor as Kat Denning's stand-in before Marvel had really taken off. So I remember being on that set kind of not knowing what this movie was. The costumes in real life look kind of goofy. So I was kind of like, this seems goofy. And then, of course, when you see them on camera, it's totally different. But it's really funny that I didn't know I was working on something that was the beginning of this huge takeover of the industry. And they really took up, Marvel films have taken up all of the box office, and they've taken a lot away from indie filmmakers or the smaller movies, because we're not going to get the bigger budgets anymore because you can't sell at the movie theater. So you know you're going straight to video on demand and DVD. So it kind of cut out a piece of the market for other films, because now it's really the only movies that are selling at the box office are Top Guns or Marvel or Mission Impossible. They're really only the big studio movies, and there really isn't a lot of space left for the little indies, which I think is a shame, because then we've lost art of filmmaking and stuff. So yeah, it's a shame. And I hope that it flips, but I think audiences also have to be responsible. Like I don't go and support them with my dollars in the box office, because I don't want that to be the only thing that goes into the theater. So then, but they make billions of dollars, and at the end of the day, everything is about money. So film is a business, and people are looking at what can I make and how can I make money. And we're always thinking that too. When you make a movie, it's not like I'm making a movie thinking, oh, I hope I don't make any money. I have to make money or I won't get to make another movie. Because the first question is, how much money did your movie make, and is this a viable investment for me?
Yeah, of course, like everybody needs to eat also, right?
What?
I mean, like everybody needs to eat, so at least.
Exactly. Everyone's got to eat. You got to make money, but it is for me a disappointment to see Marvel take over the box office for all the other films that don't get the chance to go to the box office that I think people would still enjoy. So.
This concludes my first part of my conversation with Alexandra Boylan. The second part will follow.
12 Hours in the Future is produced by Jim Carney and Maria Sanchir, with technical help from Daryl Mandiola. Special thanks to Professor Tom O'Hanlon, Dean James Mann, Professor Stephanie Stowe, Ed Stone, and Magda Soto. The executive producer and host of 12 Hours in the Future is Maria Sanchir. 12 Hours in the Future with Maria Sanchir is a series of conversations recorded with the resources of Lehman College, City University of New York. You can find us everywhere podcasts are available, and on YouTube. This show is protected under international copyright and may not be recorded or retransmitted without written consent. Until next time, when we see you 12 hours in the future.